Sideshow presents Get Super with Joshy G. Featuring today's special guest, Sala Baker. It's time to get super.
Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm Joshy G, and welcome to the season premiere of Get Super with Joshy G. And I'm joined by my very good friend, Mr. Sala Baker. Sala, how are you doing? Are you staying home? Are you staying safe? How's it going, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you, Joshy. Thank you for having me here. I'm good. I'm home safe. I've been quarantining, keeping away from the masses, and hustling and trying to figure out this world we're in. So
you're not the only one, brother. You're not the only one, but I'm glad you're staying home, and I'm glad you're staying safe, because that's what this show's all about, is staying home, staying safe, and of course, getting fit while doing so, which we'll get into in a little bit later. But I want to ask you some questions and get to have the audience get to know you a little bit better. You are from New Zealand, correct?
Yes, sir.
How was growing up in New Zealand?
Well, it was pretty different now living in America. I mean, there's only 4 million people in the country. I'm from a very large family, from 9 boys, 2 girls, mum, dad, grandma, grandpa, and 9 dogs and 8 cats. So it was a full house. Well, it kind of kept everyone in the house busy with doing something, whether with the cat or a dog or with cleaning the house, because everyone had a job, being so many people. So it was a constant busy household. So it was amazing. Actually, it kind of kept me grounded, with the cities being separated from the rural areas, and it kind of maybe who I am, kind of, before I moved here at 22. So,
and growing up in New Zealand, what were some of the things that you were into? Obviously, the culture in New Zealand, a little bit different from the culture in America. Did you have any pop culture heroes, whether it be superheroes, comic books, TV shows, video games? Were there a lot of things different in New Zealand that there were that we have in America, or did it just eventually all the Americanization and popular culture stuff get there eventually?
Well, New Zealand was raised on American and English television.
Okay.
We grew up with the young ones in England, as well as Kojak in America, and Magnum PI and Hill Street Blues, and
a lot of 80s TV, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the 70s, and so all the American television and English television kind of gave us an insight on how everything else was working in the world. But the thing is we weren't getting, before the internet, when a movie would come out in America, we would have to wait almost a year before New Zealand even got it. So we were always delayed when something was happening in America in terms of film and television. But it gave us a year to kind of get ready for it. I had obviously action heroes that, growing up watching Bruce Lee films and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and then obviously Schwarzenegger and great like Red Sonja, so we had a lot of really cool shows to watch that kind of gave us an insight on the film world happening at that time. I mean, there was a place called Video Mecca in New Zealand, which was a video store that would come around to the local areas in a van.
Oh, that's great.
And a van, there was this guy called Stan and Abe. They would drive around in this blue van, and they'd open up the back of the van, and there would be all these VHSs lining the entire inside of the van, that you could go in there and choose and pick which movies you could get. And you could get 6 or 7 films on VHS.
That's so great. I miss the video store experience. I know kids nowadays, and I sound like such an old person, but whatever. I miss that experience of going into a video store and picking out movies. And a lot of the times when a popular movie wasn't available, because everybody and their mother would, rent it for the weekend, it forced you to kind of think outside of the box and pick a different movie that you may or may not have wanted to see. And so I think that experience, but this time in a van and coming to your house, was way ahead of its time. I mean, and more or less, it's kind of like a version of an 80s version of Netflix or Redbox. You don't have to go anywhere. It's coming to you. So that's kind of cool. You had definitely have that advantage over us.
Well, what was crazy, just prior to that, prior to paid programming and licensing, we had a television that you would put in 50 cents and you'd turn the knob and it would give you TV for an hour.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is crazy.
That was like the way we watched television. And when it turned off, we were like, someone find 50 cents. It's in the couch. It's like people, like we were literally looking for coins in the couches, trying to find 50-cent coin, which was a big round coin, so that we could watch television for another hour.
That's crazy.
Before,
kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool. It kind of taught us to like get as much as we can until we don't have money.
Now, were there things growing up in New Zealand that you liked to collect? Were there certain comic books or action figures or...
Funny you say that. I was a big Marvel and DC fan. So I started collecting, because we weren't a rich family. But every time I saw a Marvel comic of Thor or Spider-Man or Superman was one of my favorites. I even had the Superman tattoo on my arm. Nice. Yeah, because S for Sala. So I was like, hey,
it works.
My twin brother and I got tattoos, but I was a big Superman fan, and collected comics, and even the Mad Max comics back in the 80s was something we were collecting also. So during that collection, I got into the American films and the American way and what they were doing out here, to kind of preempt me for like not knowing that I was actually going to even come out here.
Well, you said that, kind of, got you interested in films, and you were talking about Red Sonja and Schwarzenegger and all these action heroes. You eventually got your first stunt gig, which was Lord of the Rings. What kind of drove you to be what drove you to the direction of being a stunt person? Was there a particular movie that inspired you, or you just thought, man, I want to be a stunt person, and this is the way I'm going to go? Was there a pivotal moment in your life where you're like, that's what I want to do? You saw maybe Jean-Claude or Sylvester Stallone do something, you're like, that's the route I want to go. Was there a moment in your life where you remember where you're like, this is it, this is what I want to do?
Well, as a young kid, I was always active and very athletic, doing all sorts of different sports. I literally played everything, and was fairly decent at all of them.
Rugby, a big rugby guy?
Oh, rugby, volleyball, tennis, basketball. I was, playing in the college teams.
And by the way, who doesn't love the All Blacks? The All Blacks are just great. Like, who doesn't love them?
Yeah, man. And wanted to play serious, but a lot of the teams were playing on Sundays, and that was church day. And my dad wasn't letting that happen. So wanting to play sports and not being able to, when I kind of started watching movies, I was like, wait, what's going on here? And then during a time where I was just living with some friends, someone had seen a notice in the paper saying they're auditioning for extras for this movie called Lord of the Rings. And I was like, well, I didn't know anything about it. I was a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, and I was a Trekkie, and I had the Trekkie badge, and I was part of the Trekkie, world. But then when Lord of the Rings came on, I was like, interesting. And my friend said they're looking for big rugby type build guys to play these characters in the film. And I was like, no, that's not going to be me. And my friend was like, well, I'm going. You should just come with me. And after 4 hours of convincing me, I go, fine, I'll go. So I ended up going in or standing in this line to audition as an extra. And I was there for 2 or 3 hours, just waiting on this long line, getting in. And I went and auditioned as an extra. They said, cool, come jump into this other line and another line and another line. And they said, well, why don't you try out for the stunt team? They're looking for a couple more guys. And I was like, sure. I don't even know what that is, but sure. So I went in, and being athletic, and I tried out for the stunt team, and they auditioned 147 people, I believe, and it was a 5-hour audition. They had to go through fitness, then you had to go do fights and go through some stunt aspects of the industry, and then you had to put together a fight scene in 5 minutes in front of all of the other performers. And I'd done this, got together with this guy and put together a fight, and in the middle of showing and telling everyone, he hits me in the face.
Oh no, big mistake.
My nose starts dribbling a little bit, and I'm like, don't worry, just keep going. And he's like, oh, but you're bleeding. I was like, who cares? Just keep going. And he's like, oh, he kind of paused and froze after it. And I was like, oh man, you just ruined my chances. Little did I know that later on, I walked out of there, and I was like feeling pretty deflated. And the guys were like, no, you're fine. It's okay. It's what happens. This is the industry. And I left the audition. Now, later on, I'd seen the guys out going for drinks in the weekend. They came to a bar I was a bouncer at. And one of the guys that was at the audition was really nice to me. And he was kind of like being a mentor to me. Don't worry, it'll be okay. And I start to get them a little inebriated. I'm like, let me get this guy's drinks and try and get on the good side, let's try and see what I can do here.
I like that method. Okay.
And by the end of it, I was like, hey, what's my choices of getting in? And he said, well, you're okay. And I said, well, what does that even mean? Because I was supposed to find out on the following Tuesday, and it was a Saturday night. I said, what does that even mean? And finally, I got him to say, you're going to be okay. You made
wink.
it. Wink, wink. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I just literally went into the bartender and I said, make sure they all get drinks on me. And so they all walked out of there inebriated, and I found out that I actually made the team. I made the team, and they chose myself, and then ended up going to a martial arts school and getting the other 5 guys. Then we ended up packing up our stuff and moving to Christchurch to start filming on Lord of the Rings.
That's great. What a great story. And it's also kind of cool to see, the stunt community, even back then, they weren't necessarily intimidated by you. They were really excited about your look and your size, and the fact that even with a small mistake, they realized the potential that you had. That's also going to make you feel kind of good, right? To sit there and see like, hey, even though that this guy accidentally punched me in the face, they saw the potential in me. They just didn't pass on.
Yeah. Well, finding out later on doing stunts that the best thing you can do is just keep going, because the minute you stop in the middle of a shot, the shot is over and you've just shot. But if you take the hit and just keep going and keep doing the action, it can actually still work and make it look better, and we'll deal with what happens after.
Yeah, and like you said, it worked for you because you wanted to keep going, and the guy was like all worried that he broke your nose, and you're like, no man, just keep going. I ain't got time to bleed. Let's just keep this train moving.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what was your favorite moment in filming The Lord of the Rings? I would think that one was a pretty good moment, but what is your all-time favorite moment in filming those amazing movies?
Well, after working on the film, started working on the films for a while, I found out that they were recasting the role of Sauron. And I was like, wait, I want to play him. So I talked to our sword master, who's Bob Anderson, who trained Errol Flynn, Sean Connery, in the famous Highlander films. And
what a resume, by the way.
I mean, he was amazing. He won Olympic gold in New Zealand in 1976, the year I was born. But he said, no, you're too big. You're never going to fit the suit, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, it's so rude. But at the end of the day, what happened was the guy who was originally, because the suit was made for a very tall, skinny, 6'5" guy that pretty much weighed 160 pounds.
Okay.
Tall, skinny guy. But the problem was when they showed the dailies of the guys, he was pretty much a robot. He had no performance aspect in his movements. So they said, well, why don't we get Sala to try and go in and do some movements for it? So I got a call one of the nights prior to going to work to set the following morning. I had a 5 a.m. wake up, and I get a call at like 11 o'clock at night saying, hey, Sala, can you come in tomorrow morning to do a fitting? And I'm like, I'm already coming in tomorrow morning. What do you mean? They says, no, can you come in at 2 in the morning? And I was like, what? He said, can you come in to do a fitting for Sauron? And I said, you already have one. What are you talking about? And they said, well, we're looking to recast it. And I was like, yes, I could come in at 2 in the morning. Hell yes. Yes. So I was like, I couldn't really sleep that night. I was like, what is going on? And then went in at 1:30 to go to set and refabricate Sauron's armor to fit me so that I could do a rock video section of me playing the character to sell to Peter Jackson to say, is this what you're looking for, kind of thing? And what was crazy is that, the suit fit, but it didn't quite fit perfectly. So it was poking me in certain areas. By the end of the shoot that we had done, I had cuts and bruises from everything, but I was like, who cares? I'm going to make sure I look amazing in this suit and make sure I show Peter what he wants in terms of the movement and how this character should be embodied and how he should portray his presence. And a couple of days later, I found out I was the new Sauron. So that was, I mean, of course, getting into the film industry and being part of the stunts was amazing, but this was like the next turn up of being a part of this giant saga and trilogy that is Lord of the Rings. So that's freaked me out.
You went from a bouncer to a guy that had to be convinced to do these extra parts to being the #1 bad guy. That's pretty awesome. All right, so you finished filming Lord of the Rings. What made you decide to make the jump from New Zealand to Los Angeles, California, aka Hollywood?
So during the filming of all 3 films, I met a lot of great American cast members and crew and producers, and I met one in particular, Mark Ordesky, one of the executive producers, and now a really good friend of mine. I'd had a chat to him I was invited to Peter Jackson's house one day from set because one of his kids came to set and loved me. And all of a sudden, she, young Katie, and she had said one day, I got a call saying, hey, Peter Jackson wants you to come to his house. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? They're like, he wants you to come to his house. I'm like, why? And I found
out what happened?
I was like, what did I do? Am I in trouble? Like, she said, no, Katie wants to see you, his daughter. So I end up going to his house, and Mark Ordesky's there with a few executives, and we're just hanging out in this theater in his house. And Mark Ordesky kind of gets to know me a little bit and says, hey, do you want to meet on Saturday at this coffee shop? I says, yeah, sure, absolutely. And, hanging out with the crew and everyone was great. And I ended up meeting Mark Ordesky on Saturday for a coffee. And he asked me, well, what do you want to do? I says, well, I love doing stunts, but I really want to act and I want to further my career. And I thought about going to LA, but it just seems such a big move from New Zealand and the little town Porirua where I'm from. It's just a thought like, oh, America, whoa, Hollywood. And he says, well, I think, there's a lot of me in New Zealand but there's not a lot of me in America. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He says, think about maybe moving to the States and maybe furthering your career there. And I was like, what? This American producer is telling me that I should move to Los Angeles and give it a go. So he kind of convinces
and two, like you have a specific look that I'm sure this producer that looked at you said, hey man, like you could play a lot of ethnicities. You obviously have a certain presence about you, and you're willing to learn, and you're willing to go above and beyond. I mean, to me, you sound like a casting director or producer's dream, you know? So I could see why there was such a huge appeal for you.
So you made the jump to LA, and what was one of the very first memories that you had in LA as part of being a part of a stunt team?
It actually took a little while. I moved here and then ended up going to Comic-Con with New Line Cinemas to promote Lord of the Rings. And what an experience that was, coming from small town New Zealand to Comic-Con San Diego. It was like, whoa, all these crazy outfits and characters from early days to the current, and then being taken through signing autographs and doing all the photos thing. That was pretty interesting. Now the stunt thing took a few years because I didn't really know a lot of stunt people in America. So the trying to hustle around, it took me like maybe 3 years to finally meet some people and then get into my first project working here in America, which was Pirates of the Caribbean. We didn't actually shoot it here, but I met everyone here and ended up auditioning and then going to Dominica with the crew from Pirates of the Caribbean, because the stunt coordinator from Pirates of the Caribbean was the same stunt coordinator from Lord of the Rings, George Rugi. So getting on, because after working on Lord of the Rings in New Zealand, he wanted to bring our entire team to America for the Pirates of the Caribbean films, which is obviously a hard thing to do for production, and getting 37 green cards and accommodations and taff-hartling all these people. But he didn't end up getting everyone, but because I was here, I was one of the few that was chosen to go to Dominica and shoot as a part of the team. And on that film, I obviously learned a lot about the American production, but also met up to 80 stunt performers. And being in that film and working with all these different talented, from older to new stunt performers, it got my name out there to go, who is this guy from? He's from New Zealand. And so that was such a great production because I learned a lot. I traveled to a location and met a lot of really big stunt performers and coordinators on that movie. They kind of got to know me really well and know what my talents were in such a short time. So I was kind of pushed pretty quickly into the industry from being introduced from our stunt coordinator from Lord of the Rings. So some of the people I met on that one film have hired me and have also worked together over the last 20 years, and meeting more people, and that kind of thrusted me into the stunt industry in Los Angeles.
Now, you've done a lot of things. In fact, you've pretty much done it all. Everything from Iron Man, Deadpool, Sherlock Holmes, The Mandalorian, The Mentalist, and one of my favorite scenes that you were in you were actually in a scene with a really good buddy of mine, Tate Fletcher.
He's a good friend of mine, yeah.
In The Equalizer. Is there a particular stunt that you have done that sticks out that is your favorite?
Oh, that's
or
a
a fight
one.
scene, or a fall. It could be any stunt.
Yeah, I've done a lot of productions. Tate is a good friend of mine. I met him in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We bonded like a bunch of bears wrestling.
That's funny.
In the woods.
That's where I met Tate, in Albuquerque, New Mexico as well. So
yeah, he's, for such a large human, he's such a gentle soul. And working with people like him, being big, we end up fighting the lead actors, lead actresses, and losing, obviously, because we're the bad guys.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of memorable fights and stunts, but mainly it was fights because working with such high caliber actors like in The Equalizer with Denzel Washington and Ryan Gosling and all these really great actors that I got to learn how to coexist with these talents in the one place. So one of my earlier experiences was in The Kingdom with Jennifer Garner doing the fight scene in Saudi Arabia. Was one of the craziest for me because it was I grew up watching martial arts films and crazy Hollywood type films, but this was just a basic brutal fight scene between a man and a woman, which I was a little bit unsure of, because I was literally beating her up like a man, which is just really harsh. But we won, we were nominated for Best Fight Scene against 300 and a lot of other really big fights. I didn't win, but the fact that, the fact that I was nominated was great. Were you nominated? But it was just great to be up there with all these really talented fights and scenes and films those years. Kind of pushed me in the sense of like, you're doing the right thing. I think you're doing a good job.
That's
because
great.
You're up there with these amazing talents. So that was one of the early fights that I did that kind of made noise for me in the industry because I was nominated for a Taurus Stunt Award for Best Fight. So,
and have you won any since?
I haven't.
Let's talk to this academy, huh? What's going on in the sport?
Well, what's crazy is that every time I do a great fight, I was nominated again, which is crazy. The 2 times I've been nominated is when I've been beating up women, which I'm not really happy about.
Yeah.
But it just showed the severity of how tough these fights were with 1, Jennifer Garner, and 2, Lauren Cohan from Fear the Walking Dead. And they were just brutal and really rough scenes that pushed us to that level. Now, every time I get nominated, there's I always go up against Marvel movies or giant 300 films, which kind of take the precedence over such small films that, there's, to me, it's not about winning. It's the fact of like,
your work is being recognized. That's good.
That's the thing. What was crazy for the second nomination with Mile 22 and Lauren Cohan was that our film in that sequence was nominated for 5 awards, 4 of them being my fight. 1 being Best Fight Scene, 2 being Hardest Hit for a Woman, Best Fight Scene for a Woman, and I think Hardest Hit. So when we were in the Stunt Awards, our fight scene just came up over and over and over and over again during the whole Stunt Awards. So people were like, it's like the Sala show at the awards this year, because my fight scene was played 4 times for 4 different awards. So the
Stunt Awards, by the way, just sound way more interesting and much more fun to watch, by the way, when you have those categories.
Yeah, and it was fun because that year we had Arnold Schwarzenegger as one of our hosts and giving out awards. So it was pretty special to have him there. So yeah, it's not about winning, but it's about just being out there and recognized for some of your work that's up there with some really big projects. So that just lets me know that I'm in the right direction, and I'm doing the best I can. So
now you just said that you pretty much do it all, right? You've done TV, you've done movies, clearly you even have done
games,
video games, motion capture stuff. Is there one that you prefer more than the other? Do you like doing TVs more than you do movies? Like, which one do you, Sala, prefer when it comes to work?
Well, there's no real preference for me. I mean, the films are great because you have a long run. You have a longer. Sometimes it's 1 month. Sometimes it's 3 weeks. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 months. But for me, it doesn't really matter because each job I do, whether it's a music video or a game, I'm constantly learning something new. And for me, that's what it's really about, is constantly pushing myself to learn about new aspects of the industry, be it film, television, or other ways of showing content. But I'm all for learning something new, because if I stick in the same movie, I'm still learning, but it's nothing new. So I like to keep learning new things about myself and what I can push myself to do, and also learn something new to kind of, spark the imagination and also the creativeness of what I can do for myself. So I love film and television, but I'll do it all just to keep learning.
I mean, I think that's a great answer. And for those people that, that could be watching that maybe want to get into the stunt industry, I think that's great advice to give to people, that may not know exactly what they want to do, right? Do they want to do stunts in TV, movies? The thing is that you're not turning anything down. And the fact that you want to continue to learn, even now being a savvy stunt veteran, that's just an amazing outlook that people, I think, would benefit from.
I even tell people who are starting out in the stunt industry is to go be an extra. Start off being an extra, because you can be on set. Being at home and not doing anything, or trying to submit yourself online is great, but just go and be an extra. You get paid to be there. You get 3 meals a day, and you're constantly on set with workers in the industry, where you can ask questions. You can say, hey, why are you using that light? Why are you using that lens? Why are you shooting it like that? Why is the camera moving like that? You can meet other actors and create work with those actors and relationships. This, as an extra, to me, I call it, you're getting paid to go to film school.
Not only that, but you're also getting paid to, take opportunities if you see them. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's your job to ask questions. It's your job to meet people and create these connections. If you just look at it as a job, you're sitting there eating your 3 meals a day and going to work when you're asked to be in work, and that's it, then you're not getting the full benefit of it. Most people were like, oh, being an extra kind of sucks. But if you look at it in a completely different way, it doesn't suck. If you look at it like a film school way, then you are creating opportunities for yourself to grow. And you, my friend, are a prime example of someone who took those opportunities and ran it into the end zone and spiked the ball to score. So I think that your work ethic is, by far really, really cool to see.
I had to do it myself to get into into SAG. I had to get my 3 SAG vouchers as an extra. And when I did that, I met a couple stunt guys that were working that day that I ended up working with over the years. So like you say, it's the connections that you meet, asking questions. Because moving here and being an extra, some people are always like, oh, here we go. Here's the extra trying to move up in the world.
Yeah.
But he was so nice. Ben Bray, who is now directing for DC TV, starting as a stuntman actor and coordinating, and now directing some Marvel shows. So you never know who you're going to meet on set as an extra. And that's how I finally got my vouchers to join SAG when it was $1,500, and then start getting into the stunt industry and meeting people and getting myself out there and meeting other people who could see my skills and hopefully work together soon one day.
Well, that's great. And, and again, a truly amazing story on how hard work always pays off. One last thing before we get into this workout that you have designed for me, which we'll get into in a moment. I always ask this question of every guest of Get Super. I'm obviously a big pro wrestling fan. I've been a pro wrestling fan pretty much all my life. I train a lot of pro wrestlers. I always like to ask people, if you could book a pop culture main event for WrestleMania. So, for example, it could be the Terminator versus RoboCop, or it could be, Rocky versus the Terminator. Anything that you want. It could be the pop culture WrestleMania main event for your event. What would it be and why?
Okay. I'm going to be biased.
Okay.
All right.
I figured you might, but let's hear it.
Because I've always wondered, because Peter Jackson mentioned this to me when I was shooting scenes for Sauron. And he said to me, when you're wielding this mace and you're whipping these Gondorians everywhere, you know who Darth Vader is, right? And I says, yes, absolutely. And he says, he is nothing compared to you.
Oh,
He says, you wield this mace and he would destroy worlds. So when you mentioned that question, all I thought was to see was Darth Vader against Sauron as a main event in their respective worlds. Would be.
Is it a straight one-on-one match between Vader and Sauron, or is there any kind of stipulation?
Just straight one-on-one.
No cage, nothing?
Oh,
a cage could contain them. I don't think that a cage would be able to contain them.
Well, I mean, it'd be great to start off with a cage, but you wouldn't end up with one, being Vader and his, and Sauron and the mace and his lightsaber. So that's what I would like to see. Like in the boxing world, I always wanted to see Mike Tyson and David Tua, the New Zealand boxer. But again, in that kind of question, I would definitely like to see those two characters go at it.
I think that that's probably one of the biggest answers, and biggest as in the size of these two characters go at it. So I appreciate that answer.
Thank you for a cool answer.
Yeah, before
a question, I mean.
We get into this workout.
As you can see, the child is behind me. Big Mandalorian fan as well. Again, we mentioned Kate, who was on The Mandalorian. You've been on The Mandalorian. What were your experiences like being on the set of such a cool and groundbreaking television show?
Well, I had a great story because I had a bunch of projects lined up, and during that time, getting closer to the projects, they all started to merge together, and I had to choose between a couple of projects, and one of them being Hobbs and Shaw, and the other being The Mandalorian. And during that whole section, the Hobbs and Shaw film was 30 days, and The Mandalorian was only 7. But being a huge Star Wars fan and a huge, Mandalorian fan of what was about to come, I had a choice to make. And I was like, well, what do I do? And I asked my partner, and she says, okay, if it wasn't for the money, what would you do? And immediately I said Star Wars, because I just finished, I'd done 4 films with The Rock. Mm-hmm. So it was either to give up the money aspect for a dream job. And the other thing was that it was about a section of my culture, which is Samoan, and it was The Rock going back to Samoa, working with all of the biggest Pacific Island performers and actors that were working with The Rock on Hobbs and Shaw. So I had to make the decision to turn down Hobbs and Shaw to then work on The Mandalorian. It was just a great experience to even be on that set of Star Wars world, because my dream was to be in the Star Wars world. And so that was just amazing for me, and a dream come true to be a part of it.
I think you chose wisely, my friend. I'm a huge Fast and the Furious fan. Dwayne, DJ could possibly do no wrong, but I think you went with your heart, and hopefully we get to see more of you, possibly, maybe, don't know for sure, but I think that you made the right decision, which I salute you for. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
cool. And you get to be a part of a really cool universe. Another notch in your belt. Marvel Universe,
Yes.
Star Wars Universe,
Yeah.
DC Universe.
Yeah.
Before we get into the workout, just a quick little background on the workout that you wrote for us. Is this something that you use in your everyday life? What has inspired you for this particular workout? Is this a good way that you stay in shape when you're not working? Yeah, just kind of go over a little bit of the background to this particular workout.
Yeah, absolutely. This workout, I didn't design it. I was on social media one day and I saw Chris Hemsworth doing a workout which looked pretty intense. But the thing was, it might have been a warm down of his workout, but it looked pretty crazy. And I'd seen the bear crawls before, but the sequence of moves that he did in his workout got me thinking, whoa, what is that? So I tried it and I looked up who his trainer was, and it was DeRoke on social media. And he trains, A-list actors, he trains first responders, firefighters, and even the police force. So he's a big time trainer for all those people. And I looked him up and went and worked out with him, and he almost killed me. With this workout. And so what I ended up doing was taking a section of that workout and making a workout for myself that was only 5 minutes, that got me into, because my thing was like, I need to do something every day, but if it's an hour long or 2 hour or an hour 45, it's hard for me to keep that consistent. I know myself, I was like, this is going to be hard. I won't be able to do it every day.
To keep the intensity too. I mean, if there's something that long, it's very hard to keep an intensity level super high, especially when it's 2 hours long,
Yeah. So I just shortened it and made a few moves and made it so that it's not about, because to me, it was like, it's not about getting the fitness people doing my workout. It's getting the everyday people who don't do anything to not give them an excuse to go, everyone's got 5 minutes, even The Rock, but he's working out at 4:30 in the morning for 2 hours. So he makes time for his workout. So,
plus he's got a private gym, but that's beside the point.
That's beside, yeah, absolutely. But, so I tried to do something that, one, I can do every day, and two, people don't have excuse to go, oh, I don't have the time. I'm like, what, you don't have 5 minutes in the morning? So I taken some moves from DeRoke's sequence challenge, and he'd even posted a sequence challenge, which I adjusted to fit me, and did a 5 minute everyday workout, and it literally changed my life. And so when I'm not working, and even when I am working, I still do the movements like every day or 5 to 6 days a week, so that it keeps me mobile and keeps the body moving.
Okay. Well, again, usually I'm the one that programs Sala, but I'm very pumped to flip the script a little bit, especially this being the season premiere of Get Super. So we have flipped the script. I am now the student, you're the teacher, and we're going to go through this workout together. So we're going to do some readjusting of cameras. Sala is going to join me for some, if not all of the workout, but that's okay. You don't have to, my friend. I will be your guinea pig, your demonstrator. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah.
So let's move some camera stuff around and let's get after it. Okay, so Sala's workout starts off with a bear crawl. Now, normally this bear crawl would be done for distance. I obviously don't have a lot of room. So I'm just going to bear crawl back and forth until Sala tells me to stop. Normally, you would do it for distance. Am I right, Sala?
Yeah. You would do it over like 15 to 20 feet.
Now, with a bear crawl, for those of you that don't know what that is, and again, there's a lot of controversy about the bear crawl in my gym, only because I like to bear crawl with straight arms and straight legs with your hips high. I know that's not necessarily how a bear crawls, but to me, that makes it a little bit harder. So again, your hips are high, my arms are straight, and I crawl like that. Now, there's another version for a bear crawl, which I'm assuming most people like, which is where you keep your hips low and you walk like that. Sala, are there any other variations of a bear crawl that you like?
So the one that I've been told from my from the roque, which is literally where you're here and your knees just literally come up off the ground 2 inches.
Okay.
And it happens right here.
Okay. So again, we gave you 3 variations. You have your hips up high, you have your knees a little bit lower, and then the super hard, or as I would call it, the RX plush version, is your knees shortly with 2 inches off of the ground, which seems very, very difficult. But I don't mind it.
Well, that's why I adjusted it to doing it only over 10 feet back and forward and back, because having your knees that low, it actually really engages your core, your quads, and your a lot of your lower body. And because we're on all fours, all your weight, your own body weight, is being used to work the body.
Well, I have a big butt, so I will have a lot of body weight to work with. But I'll just give you some demonstrations of the bear crawl, and then you tell me when to stop, my friend. Knees 2 inches off of the ground, and I am crawling. And this is very difficult, like you said, my friend.
Yeah. And then we go. So try and do it, Joshy. When you go one way, just go backwards the other way.
Oh, okay. I'm doing a full spin for you guys, but yes, I can go backwards.
Because it's like doing negatives, right?
Yep.
Oh, and I hit. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna do 2 more.
You definitely feel it in your core as well as your quads.
Okay, 1 more.
Whew.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
There we go.
All right. The bear crawl version, or the movement, checked off the list. The next movement in Sala's workout is a side crawl. Same position, I'm assuming, right? Instead of going back and forth, you're now going side to side.
Yeah, and just like you did it, we don't cross the hands over. We just keep it here as well.
Now, for those folks that may find this extremely difficult, being the super low to the ground, it makes it a little bit easier if your hips are higher, and then the lower your hips and knees go, the more difficult it is.
Yeah. Well, that's why when he would say, it's like, if you do it in short spurts, you can be able to do it. It gets you used to doing it every day.
So yeah, just like anything, start high, and as you get used to it, get yourself a little bit lower, making it a little bit harder for yourself and giving yourself a little bit of a challenge.
Absolutely.
All right, side crawl it is. You let me know when to stop, my friend.
Right, here we go.
And go. I'm just going the length of the carpet.
Yep.
This beautiful carpet that my girlfriend picked out, by the way. Because if it was up to me, it'd be a giant nerdy logo of some sort, maybe a Skeletor or the Death Star.
Yes. Okay, 1 more.
Thank God.
Going towards. Okay, here we go.
All right. I find that the side crawl was harder than the bear crawl, but maybe that was because I did it second.
Right.
All right. The next movement is a squat, jump up, jump out. And I think I have this one down. We made a lot of guests on Get Super with Joshy G. Squat, so an air squat, and then you jump up, and then you jump out. Did I say that? Did I do that correctly?
Exactly.
All right, so how many are we going to do? We're going to do 10, 5, 8, 6?
Let's do 10.
Okay, 10. You let me know when you're ready, coach.
Okay, here we go. And go. 1. And I come back.
It's very hard for me to not jump on that first one.
Right. Well, we can go straight into the jump.
Okay.
squat, jump.
I like it. And again, folks, if you need to scale this, you can squat down to as low as you can. Obviously, Sal and I are trying to get that hip crease below the knee, get that full squat, full extension of the hips as we explode up. So again, if you're looking for a scale version, you can put a chair, a medicine ball, or a target behind you as you squat down. I also don't know what number we're on, Sal.
3 more.
Okay. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, I forgot to jump. Oh, because my legs are burning. 1 more. Oh my gosh.
All right. Shaking those out, shaking them out. So we got the bear crawl, the side crawl, the squat jump into the jump out. And now on Sala's checklist, we got side gorilla. Is that very similar to the side crawl? The only difference is we're crossing arms?
Yes. So the side gorilla would be here. We're here.
Uh-huh.
From here, we could reach outside and jump.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm here. Am I doing that right?
Yep. Just make sure your arms go outside your knees.
Got it.
So you're reaching. So you go.
Ah, okay. A little bit of a reach.
Not
okay.
Here.
Got it. Big reach. Okay. So
we can go.
Sal is the coach. I'm going to reach and jump side gorillas until coach tells me to stop.
We do 10.
We'll do 10. Sounds good. All right. Ready? And go.
Go. 1, 2,
3,
4,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. Man, I think we just hit the halfway mark on the checklist, my friend.
Yes.
Okay, so bear crawl, side crawl, squat, jump out. Side gorilla, we have 4 different movements left. This next one is a frog jump. I know what it is, but please, Sal, explain to the audience what a frog jump is.
Okay. A frog jump is on here. It's just that. So you're reaching out and bringing your arms to your legs. And we can do the same thing going forward and backwards.
Okay, I'll go.
Actually,
this way if you
no,
want.
we have to turn around.
Okay.
So we can't go backwards, just turn around and go the other way.
Okay. But I was just saying that you can go towards the screen and I'll give the people beside you. That way they can see what both views look like.
Perfect, perfect.
And I'm assuming we're going to do 10 of these as well?
Yes.
Okay. You let me know when you're ready, my friend.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward and then stand up and go back so you don't see my butt.
I'm sure there's Sala Baker fans that would love that, but I appreciate the fair warning.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
Ready? Here we go.
Ready when you are.
Yep. 3, 2, 1, go. 1.
Oh, almost tripped. 2,
3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8,
9, and 10.
There we go.
All right.
I'm sweating already.
That's good. I'm glad that this worked out already. My legs are feeling it. My core is feeling it. And we still have 3 more movements to go. The next one is the low squat jump with your arms behind your head. So I believe this is the movement. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Hands behind your head. You're going to squat down and you're going to jump up.
Yep.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
All right, now let's do this. This is also going to be for 10 reps. Again, remember, guys, if you can only get as low as you can, If this is about as low as you can get above parallel, that isn't necessarily ideal. But again, the goal of all of these workouts is to do them at home and to scale them to the best of your ability. All right. So hands behind our head, gonna squat down, and 10, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh. All right, 2 more movements. These look very, very tough. If you don't know what a sit through is, Sal is going to demonstrate. They are very, very tough.
Yes, there are lots of modifications. The sit through, as we start, let me just point this down a little bit. The sit through movement is from here, we get our knees just off the ground a touch, 2 inches again. Now the key to it is placing the right foot here, lifting this hand up, and putting your leg out. That's one of the hard ways. The option is to just come here and bring the knee here.
Okay.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. 10 total, 5 each leg.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, knees up and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go.
7, 8, 9. All right, and now the last movement that also incorporates the sit through, you're just adding a push-up to it, correct?
Yep. So now when we do the push-up, we just bring the knee up.
All right. Let's take a look at it. Just give the folks an example.
From here, knees come up and it's 1, 2.
Got it. All right. Ready when you are, bud.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, knees up. Let's go. 1, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more.
And there you have it. Whew. Quite a workout. 5 minutes or less. The way we wrote it, 10 bear crawls or designated length, 10 side crawls to a designated length, 10 squat jump ups, jump outs, 10 side gorilla walks, 10 frog jumps, 10 low squats with your hands behind your head, 10 sit-throughs, and then the piece, la resistance, the 10 sit-throughs with the push-ups. Obviously,
it's a hard one.
It is very hard. It gets your whole body warm. Obviously, works your legs, works your chest, works your arms. Most importantly, works your core. And as you can tell, we're both out of breath. And we got a good 5-minute workout in. Thank you, Sala. That was a good one.
No worries.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining me. You guys at home, thank you so much. Heck of a way to kick off a brand new season of Get Super with Joshy G, with none other than Stuntman extraordinaire, Sala Baker. Sala, again, thank you so much for joining us. Please follow Sala on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, all that jazz, and look for him in one of your favorite TV shows, movies, or video games very, very, very soon. Thank you again, Sala. Appreciate it, my friend.
Yes, thank you, of course.
And like always, make sure that you stay in Sideshow, but most importantly, don't forget to let your geek side show. See you guys.
Yes.
Hey, did you like that video? Be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.